First of all, I'd like to start with the genesis of the film. Of course, it's a bit obvious, but it's interesting in the sense that it's based on a novel by Mitsuyo Kakuta, an author which hasn't been translated yet into English, unfortunately. At least not this novel. Only 2 novels are available, as far as I know. So could you tell us a little bit what attracted you to that novel and perhaps about the genesis of the film overall?
ずっとこの映画が5本目なんですけど、ずっとギャングスターの映画を主に撮ってて、で彼らもギャングっていう家族で、今自分が本当の家族を持ったんで、本当の家族の映画も撮りたいと思ったんです。
So this is my 5th film, and for a long time I was making a lot of gangster films, and gangsters are a type of family, but then when I had my own real family, I wanted to make a movie about an actual family.
あとこの原作を頼まれた時に、ちょうど主役の小泉今日子っていう日本ではすごく有名な人なんですけど、彼女と一緒に飲む機会があって、で同じ日だったんで、ぜひ彼女にと思った。
And when I was originally asked to take on the film adaptation of this novel, that same day I happened to be out drinking with Kyoko Koizumi, who is an actress who plays the lead, who is very famous in Japan. We happened to be drinking that same day, and I asked her, "Will you be in this film?"
彼女は有名なアイドルスターで、初めてこういう家庭の主婦をやるっていうのがすごく面白いと思って頼みました。
Kyoko Koizumi is very famous as an idol star in Japan, and so I thought this would be very interesting to cast her in the first role where she's playing an ordinary housewife.
One thing that I found really interesting about your movie is how stylistically you have these spinning cameras and the very distinctive style. And I was wondering if this came first, if you that leads me to a question about your creative process in general. Like, what comes first, the story or more like the formal technique? Because I think in this film, really, there's something really unique about the camera motion, how it destabilizes the viewer. After a while, you have a sense of rootlessness, I guess, that I think is crucial to the movie and the appreciation of the film. I hope I'm right in this sense.
そういう地に足がついてない感じっていうのを視覚的にも表したかったんで、カメラを揺らしました。
Yeah, so it was important to visually express not having your feet on the ground.
で心が揺れるようにカメラが揺れていくっていうの。
And the camera sways back and forth the way your heart, your emotions sway.
でカメラが回るのは回想シーンなんですけど、時間が戻るようにカメラが回る。
And when the camera turns, does flips, it's when you're turning back time, that's when the flashback scenes occur.
そういう理由があってやりました。別にマリファナ決めてたわけじゃないです。
Yeah, so those are the reasons.
Okay. To go back to the source of the story, I was wondering to what extent you stuck to the original, because I'm not quite familiar with the source material, but to what extent is it a faithful adaptation, and what part do you think is most yours in the film?
オリジナルの小説はバラバラのオムニバス小説で、それぞれの家族のことが書かれている話なんです。
The original story is actually an omnibus. It's a collection, and other stories are told separately.
それを一つにまとめて、主婦小泉今日子を中心に一つにまとめて、で血の雨が降るっていうのは僕のアイデア。
So I unified all those stories into one and made the main point of view the housewife's point of view, and that was mine. And the rain of blood at the end, that's also mine.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was. Which leads me to a question that has to do with your oeuvre, your works in general. There's a scene, for example, in Nine Souls, in which the character played by Matsuda Ryuhei gets splattered with blood, and it's this ecstatic, epiphanic moment. I find it very enjoyable, but also in Blood of Rebirth, of course, you've got this almost final scene in which the character of the master is coming out of this in this explosion of blood. I was thinking, what's the meaning of this, and why is it such a strong recurring scene in your films? It's like you have to have this scene with an explosion of blood or rain of blood. There was also a rain of knives, if I remember well. In which one was it? That was in Blue. Was it in Blue Spring? I forgot.
でもすごく難しい質問ですね。
This is a really difficult question to answer.
でも人はみんな生まれた時血まみれでこう生まれてくるし、人間とブラッド血っていうのはそんなにかけ離れたもんじゃないっていうか、生死の話をしたいと思ったらそうなっちゃったんですね。あまり論理的に考えてないです。
I think all people when they're born into this world, they come into this world covered in blood, and I think blood is not something that's so far away from life. And when you want to discuss life and death in film, blood is a natural theme. It's not. There's nothing really. It's not something I really think about so much logically.
As Sam pointed out, the blood scene really struck me as not being necessary, unless you want to say there's a reborn taking place, a rebirth of sorts. That's the first point. And the second point is, I was really struck, it's a great film showing the pathology and the dysfunctionality of a family. And then at the very end, suddenly, everything is happy-go-lucky. They have a nice little birthday party. It really seems not. Is that also your addition to the novel, or is it something that you? I mean, I couldn't quite understand why the ending, why suddenly this happiness.
家族の話っていうよりはその主婦であるその小泉京子の心の解放の映画だと思ってます僕は。
I don't think of it so much as a film about a story about a family, as it is about the psychological reflection of the character of the housewife played by Kyoko Koizumi.
母親っていうのも一人の女性だっていうそういう映画だと思ってます。いろんな心に悩みがある。何でも受け入れてくれるマザーじゃない。
I think that a mother is also a woman at the same time, and as a woman, she has all sorts of anxieties and things that she struggles through. And it's not that she's just a mother figure who will take in and accept anything that people throw at her.
そういうことを描くためには僕は血の雨があった方がいいと思ったんですけど。
Thank you for your thought, but I do feel that the rain of blood is better in the movie than without.
At the end, why suddenly this happy,
Why someone becomes happy?
Why a happy ending? You're saying at the end?
あれはでもハッピーなのかハッピーじゃないっていうのはそれぞれの家族の事情によるんじゃないですか。
Well, whether that's a happy ending or not a happy ending really depends on that family.
見る人によって違うと思うんですけ
I
ど。
think it depends on the viewer's point of view as well.
But isn't there a sense that at the end of the film there's kind of a reboot? You're restarting over again? That's something that recurs over and over again during the film. That's that line, for example, that the grandmother says over and over again. Start over, do it again. Do you think it's a rebirth? Is it good? Is it bad? It's also something that you find throughout your films. The idea of being reborn we don't know if it's good or bad, or is it a Buddhist theme actually? It just occurred to me.
でもそれは普遍的なことじゃないですか。どんな家族も上がったり下がったりするもんじゃないですか。たまたま上がるときに映画が終わっただけでっていう。
I think that's a really universal thing. In any family, you have ups and downs. The film just happened to end at an up point.
Before we wrap up, maybe I would like to ask you, you've taken a long break from filmmaking for a while after Kuchuten in The Hanging Garden. So The Blood of Rebirth marks your return to the screen, and I was wondering when we can expect another film from you. And I have an idea of the theme because you talked about it at earlier screenings, but if you could maybe talk a little bit about upcoming projects.
年末か来年の春にはシュートする予定です。
We're planning to shoot at the end of this year or spring of next year.
次はあまり血の出てこない映画を撮ろうと。
The next film won't have quite as much blood.
Great. Well,
ヤクザ映画をやろうと思ってます。
It's going to be a Yakuza movie.
right, so very much like it's a sort of a return to your roots. Do you see it like that?
うん。
Pretty much.
Big budget.
Big budget. Great. Great. With this question about, we're going to wrap up tonight's session. Thank you again for coming to tonight's screening and explaining. And thank you to Director Toyoda.